One Piece is a legendary series that's been captivating fans for over 2 decades. It's packed with unforgettable moments, epic battles, and a world so rich. It's almost hard to believe, but there's still one aspect of this beloved series that still have people absolutely furious. What is it? Believe it or not, it's the timeline, or shall I say lack thereof. Today we're diving into the floating timeline of One Piece and why it drives some fans up a wall. Let's dive in. Let's start off with the mind-blowing fact that One Piece has been going on for 20 years. The entire story of One Piece has only covered about 3 years in the world of the Straw Hats. Yeah, you heard it right. While many have grown up with Luffy and the crew, in their world only a few years have passed. And that's not even the part that gets fans heated. Oda has taken his time unraveling this massive story, deep diving into each arc, giving us full exploration of new islands and enemies. But the timeline? It's been vague to say the least. Trying to pin down exact days, months, or even seasons in the world of One Piece is like trying to catch Luffy in Gear 4, nearly impossible. So why is this such a big deal? Well, Oda uses the floating timeline to give himself incredible amounts of flexibility. He can focus on world building and plot progression without being tied down to an exact timeline. That's the exact reason why One Piece is so immersive. But here's the kicker. It's also the reason why some fans are frustrated. Take the Reverie arc for example. We know it happens during Wano, but figuring out exactly the events lined up is a headache. Did the events of Lulisha overlap with what's happening in Onigashima? Oda loves to weave worlds together, but the timeline gets blurry, and that's where the frustration creeps in for fans, trying to make sense of it all. Now I know what you're thinking. Why does it matter? One Piece is all about the adventure. And you're right, but when Oda brings in simultaneous events, like the Reverie and the Revolutionary Army's moves, fans naturally want to know how these things fit together. And that's where the frustration builds, trying to track what's happening when it feels like solving a puzzle with missing pieces. For example, how long did Brook travel with the crew before the time skip? Was it days, weeks, or a month? His dedication to the Straw Hats is never in question. But when we think about the bonds and the friendships formed, the timeline becomes key to understanding how deep those connections go. And then there's the filler. Some fans love them, others not so much. But one thing is for sure, filler makes the timeline even more confusing. While filler is technically not canon, it sometimes gives us clues on how much time has actually passed between arcs. Remember the arc after Logtown? It suggested several days has passed before reaching Reverse Mountain. Yet even with those breadcrumbs, Oda has remained tight-lipped about the exact passage of time, leaving fans to speculate and argue over timelines. And with over 1,000 episodes, you can see why it's easy to get lost in the time warp. One Piece's flexible timeline has allowed Oda to craft an epic, sprawling narrative that doesn't feel rushed. He has been able to layer in world events and keep us guessing about what's coming next. But this flexibility comes at the cost of clarity. For those who love to analyze and piece together the timeline, the lack of defined structure feels like an unsolvable puzzle. Imagine this. Straw Hats have birthdays, but Oda hasn't shown a single one being celebrated. Luffy set sail around his birthday in May, and yet we never seen another birthday since. How are we supposed to keep track of time? So does Oda's floating timeline make One Piece any less of an adventure? Absolutely not. It's still one of the most incredible journeys in anime history, but it's easy to see why some fans are frustrated. The timeline's like a ghost in the Grand Line, always present but impossible to capture. Will Oda ever give us a clear answer? Maybe someday. Maybe we'll finally see a Straw Hat celebrate a birthday, or when Oda himself decides to give us a final timeline in an interview. Until then, all we can do is enjoy the ride and keep piecing the puzzle together, no matter how much it drives us crazy. What do you think? And if you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe, and comment down below your thoughts. Thanks for tuning in, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.